Hi, I'm James Ferguson, lead developer of the OnPoint project, and in this video tutorial we're going to showcase the projects, SQL backup, and report modules of our software. Let's get to it. So here's the project table. So you can see the type of project it is, the reference number that they have included, client, address, city, country, subdivision. There's a lot of information in these projects, so let's scroll through and show it off. You got a project number, creation date, a bunch of information about the project itself, about the property that the project is taking place on, including latitude and longitude values. Got a legal description area for that, some financial information, and here's the project status. This is very important. Remember earlier in the previous tutorial that I was talking about the associate permission levels. Pull that up in a different tab. That's where this comes in. So each of these performed by fields are the different people that have the corresponding checkbox checked in the associate permissions here. You can see we have research, field, title, drafting, quality control, blah blah blah. If an associate has the research field checked, that means this research complete is going to be able to have that person sign off on it. This is essentially a list of who's signed off on what, so you know at what point what was done. April May here has that checkbox enabled. For the field work complete and approved, that's where the field checkbox comes into play. For title review complete and the title addressing, that's where the title checkbox comes into play. For drafting complete and approved, that's where drafting comes in. Quality control, red line, PLS. You can see that those are also coming into play at this point. The initial submission to client, final submission to client, that's handled by the submission team. The revisions field is handled by the revisions team. And payment received is handled by accounting. And that's what all these user permissions are for, is so that way you can have a personal drop down of what people are able to sign off on that object. We'll show that off. Let's make our own project to show that off. So if you hit new, you have the creation date pop up. It'll say here that step 2 will generate a project number. That's because when you submit it the first time, it'll pop back up to make sure, like more of a confirmation to make sure there's nothing you want to change. Here for the client, we'll say Lake Homes. We don't have any contacts for Lake Homes. That's why nobody dropped down here, but we have Sally Mae as a single contact for Gentleman Farmer Incorporated. Let's have her there. Reference number, we can just mash numbers. Let's say it's a fence placement survey. Let's say you need to install some fences or whatever. The project specific notes, these will be notes that are attached specifically to the project. And as we said earlier, if we have client-specific notes for Gentleman Farmer Incorporated or contact-specific notes for Sally Mae, both of those note fields will appear in the display for this project. Have a bunch of property information for purpose of explaining the search functionality. We'll just say there's 10 latitude and 10 longitude. Let's just say it's off in some middle of nowhere area, and it doesn't matter at all. All this other information, you're able to pull down a list of states here, for example. That's what these drop downs are populated with, different information. You have different types of legal descriptions. Here's the financial information, different types of quote types. And here's where this comes into play. So here's the list of everybody that has research complete filled out. And here's a list of everybody that say has the field checkbox filled out. And for accounting, we only have John Doe who's able to do accounting. For the submissions, we only have these people able to do that. So you're able to set whoever you want to do what in the associates and the whole list of people you have working for the company. Now, this is where the date comes in. When you finish something, you click the box and a date selector pops up. And you're able to tab through using these buttons and pick whatever month. If you go over past January, it goes back a year. Let's say it happened June 15th, 2017. That's when that'll happen, and let's say Bill Thomas signed off on that. So you can click that, have that set. Let's just say nothing else has been done. So we submit and we proceed to step 2. Some debug information pops up, and now you have a project number. So if you wanted to create a folder that corresponded to all the information you need for this project on the server that we've set up for you, then you're able to do that. This is for your information, so that way you have a second step so you can fill out any additional information you forgot to fill out. You can double check it, make sure it's all good before you hit submit. And we'll show off that limit will extend. Let's say 50, so we can show all the stuff. Right here, here's our project that we just made, project number 19333. You can see Here's the client-specific notes. This is what was attached to Gentleman Farmer. And this is what was attached to Sally Mae. Next, we have the Reports module. What we can do is display a report for current work status in our browser, and it'll show off everything here. You'll see this incomplete tab. Now, this is important because what it's doing is listing every single letter that doesn't have something in the date field corresponding to that task. If we hit display here on the project we just made, you'll see that research complete is the only thing that's complete. So if we look here, the only letter that's missing, A through P, is A, because that's already finished. That's something so that when you structure the business around being able to know who's on the A team, who's on the B team, etc., you're able to shorthand, take a look and see, oh, well, let's look at the M, N, O, and P teams haven't completed their tasks, so we need to get on that. Whoever the person is assigned for that, whoever has that permission flagged or checkboxed in the associates field, they'll be able to sign off on that, and you'll be able to checkbox that and have that taken care of. And this will be a list of everything that isn't complete. So effectively, it's everything that has the P still there. If we go to projects, let's look at these and remember what numbers these are. Let's go back to projects. And we'll take a look at, for example, this one. We can look down here. Let's put a date here. Let's say John Doe signed off on it. This is 19/167. So when we submit this, we go to reports, we display it in the browser. We won't see 19/167 here because it already has the P completed. So if we go to reports again, you'll see that there are buttons for download Excel spreadsheet. You're able to actually download it and display that information in a functional Excel spreadsheet, showing just exactly the same stuff that you would see from the browser display. And that works for all of these different reports we have. For survey value report, you're able to check the value of all the reports, and you would click here and pick a date, and it would search it between the date range. For market segment report, you would get a lot of other financial information. For new work report, you would see everything that isn't complete that was created within these two dates. And in project history report, if you put in two project numbers, let's say we wanted to search from 19/329 to 19/334, you display that in the browser, and we have everything between those two project numbers pop up, which were these last two that were created. So if we go back to projects, this is the main header. If you haven't run a report or a search, etc., you'll be able to see this SQL backup option. If you click it, you're able to back up the contents of the entire database to your desktop, so that way you have a backup yourself. Like I said in the other tutorial, we run these backups every night at midnight, so that way we have a personal copy of those. To show off a little bit of how complicated the search functionality is, we can look here. We have global search as usual, standard search. You can pick a client and their respective contacts pop up. But what's important here is the range search. If you remember earlier, we set the latitude and longitude of that previous field to be 10 each. So if we say maybe we search from 11 to 9 and the range is 2, that means everything from latitudes 9 to 13 as well as longitudes 7 to 11 will pop up, which means this guy, because it's 10 and 10. If we go back, we search again, and we say, let's say 11 and 11, but the range is something small like 0.25, it's not going to pop up because it doesn't fit within that bounding box, we like to call it. I think that's about it in terms of our tutorial, so thanks for watching. Hopefully that helps out, and if you have any questions, you know where to contact us. See you later.